Hi there.
Um, okay, I'm getting there. Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, let me record. So when I do my podcast, I always record my audio also just in case there's a fuck up with the Zoom audio. You
Thanks
know
so
what I
much
mean?
for that because that's why you didn't get the invite because I invited you, but then after it when I left the meeting, I, I'm so sorry. I was trying to think of everything, and probably that's why.
Oh,
I didn't
it's
want to seem
fine.
professional.
It's
So
fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, how was your weekend?
great to see you. How are you doing? Yeah, it was great. It was great. Thanks so much. How was yours?
It was good. I drove about 2 hours and 15 minutes west and north to work in a town, a very small town in a studio and record a band. So it was very interesting. Very nice guys. We have very fun and yeah, it was good. But yeah, very interesting small town.
Where was
Like
that?
it's in North Carolina. It's called Mount Airy.
Mount
And
Airy. Yeah,
yeah, but no, there's a
definitely heard
mount.
the name.
Yeah, but that's the one you're thinking about is in Pennsylvania. There's
Oh,
a
maybe.
couple of mountains.
Probably.
Yeah, because that's more popular. People go there for resorts. This is a very small town.
But
You
this is in,
would
this is in North Carolina, in your state.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How was the band? And
So
can you hear me well?
they're
Because
very good. Yeah, I hear you great. I hear you great.
okay, perfect.
The band was fine. This is my third EP with them. They're called. They're kind of older gentlemen, but they have a really great like Elvis Costello punk pop rock vibe, and they write really good songs. They're just they're really nice guys. We get along very good, but we have a lot of fun and we get a lot of good work done. So yeah, very excited. So
That sounds like a lot of
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like like um a lot to something that you can definitely relate to because
Yeah.
this is your kind of music. So I'm
I mean, I'm
hosting.
65 years old. I mean, I loved Elvis Costello when I was a kid. And also, but they do more, it's not that dated if you listen to the sound, but it's got that kind of influence and vibe. The singer has definitely an Elvis like vibe to him, which is really good. I really like it. So,
That's
but
great.
we did one thing. They had an acoustic song. So, what we did was on Sunday, we set up in the studio, just him with the acoustic, and then his wife came in and they did a really cool duet. And they don't normally sing together like that, but they're both singers and they
Hmm.
sounded really great together. It was really fun. But, the wife um, doesn't do a lot much recording in the studio. So she was a little, kind of worried, but we
Hmm.
were like, no, you sound great. And it was really ended up being a lot of fun. It was like really like a cool moment. When you see a couple like that who've been married like 30 years or 20 years, you know what I mean? And they have that
Yeah, they have
interact.
this, of course,
Yeah,
that
yeah. So it was
connection. You
really fun.
can.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But anyway,
welcome. This is John Agnello, or how do I actually
yeah, it's Agnello or
Agnello?
Agnello. Yeah, so I always spell it for people to pronounce it A-N and then the word yellow. You know what I
Okay,
mean? Agnello. Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
hosting John Agnello as my first, which I'm very pleased to announce as my first guest to the Art Sound Ground,
Hmm.
which is going to be a podcast per blog. We already have a bit of a history with that. Let's
Yeah.
but uh but over the
And
weekend
by
I
the
got
way, I apologize if I would have known this would have been a Zoom. You're going to broadcast like this. I would have dressed a little nicer, but I just got back from the gym. So
no, not at all, because it's like I'm saying, actually I have to admit this is my fault because originally we already had an interview, and then
yeah,
I was very probably due to shyness and a lot of things I wasn't really. Yeah, I really just wanted to talk to you, and then
yeah,
because
great. No,
I really
that was
admire
fun.
your work and to
Thank you.
see
Well,
see what.
it was fun on Thursday. The only problem was that with the typing and stuff, it just wasn't the interaction wasn't as fun. It was just different.
No, it's
So
super. I was no, I kind of, yeah, I was stuck in this. No, it's apparently I should have thought it through. So
no, don't worry. You did great. You're
obvious.
fine. You're fine. You're
Yes,
fine.
yes. So, but now we are here, and you gave me so much um, clues, so many clues. that I was able to really um, yeah, just deep have a deeper look into what you've done, and then there's just so
Mhm.
much. Your Wikipedia is saying a couple of dozens of records, but all music is, I counted, it's 472.
Really? That many?
That many, that's the number of the credits you've got.
That is
So I was
ridiculous. Okay.
thinking,
Well,
yeah, I was thinking that's a bit more than a couple of dozens.
yeah,
So
well, the if you actually do the math, I mean, it's been 40 years. I started engineering around 83,
yes,
so
at record
41 years.
plant.
Yeah, and honestly, like it makes sense. It's like almost like I I joke with my friends about like, for example, buying guitar pedals. And they're like, "You have so many guitar pedals." And I'm like, "Well, I buy one a year for 30 years. I have 30 guitar pedals. What are you going to do? It's not like I buy like a million of them. I just, I like that. Let me buy that." And then a year later, oh, that's a cool pet. But
Are you
it's
saying
just
that you
had,
started to collect before you were actually, is that how you got into production and recording, or
what do you mean? Say that again. Say that
oh
one
no,
more time.
sorry, maybe I got it wrong. I thought you were saying that you every year you bought one.
Well,
Or
no, it's the kind of thing where, for example, in 1993, when I start plays guitar, he clicks on the Big Muff, which is his favorite pedal, or not his favorite, but it's one he uses quite a bit. He's known for using it. He clicks it on, he plays, and I'm like, that sounds incredible. So when I go home after the session's over, I go to the guitar store and buy a Big Muff because I like the way it sounds. So if I'm with some kid who doesn't have any pedals, I can say, hey, try this. So that's just one
okay.
example. You
Oh,
know what
that's
I mean?
of course, yeah. So if you
So
hear
it's
something
not a
that you like, then you can
Yeah,
relate to it. You buy
exactly.
it,
And I
and
want
then
to recreate it,
yeah,
because that's the thing with guitar pedals. If you're working with a 20-year-old kid who just has a guitar and an amp, you're not going to be able to recreate that sound.
sure.
But that happens quite a bit. And honestly, I do also, like, I'll give you another perfect example. I was working with a girl in 2000, no, in 2020, right before the pandemic, Laura Stevenson, and she had a couple of just live acoustic and vocal songs she was singing. And I felt like the acoustic sounded good, but it sounded a little plain. So I found this pedal at the recording studio called the Electro Harmonix Mel 9, which is a Mellotron thing. It makes it sound like a Mellotron. I plugged that into a mic and put it on the acoustic and set it to flute, and it gave it a really beautiful overtone of a flute while she was playing the acoustic. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, that's pretty useful. So I go home and I go to the local guitar store and I buy one of those pedals because the next time I'm in a situation, if I'm not at that studio, I could still do it.
Yeah, of
It's just
course.
shit like that, it's just worth it. So, and I'm not a guitar player or, I'm not a musician, you know what I mean?
Well,
But
I
the
don't
point
believe
is,
you or not. I mean, if you're
well,
so
well,
much
I mean,
into the
I'm
music,
not.
you're
I mean, I can't play guitar. I mean, I could figure out a melody on a keyboard, and I could play percussion. I could sing harmony because I ended up singing a lot of harmonies with Mark Lanegan. I
have
would come
you.
up with,
Mark Lanigan's work is
well, but
is
he
one
was
of the
like,
things I wanted to talk to you amongst many others.
and by the way, I think today is the anniversary of his passing, or yesterday was.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
God, I
been
wasn't
three,
I wasn't
three
aware of
years.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so sorry for his
I saw
passing.
it online and I felt really bad because it was like just, miss him.
Yes, me too.
But
But
my
I
point is, in the studio with him, I'd be like, "Hey, Mark, I have an idea for a harmony part," and I hit play on the machine and I'd sing along. And he's like, "That's great, go out and do it." And I was like, "No, no, 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 I'm not going to do it. You're Mark Lanigan. I'm like an idiot at the console." And he would refuse. He'd walk out. He'd be like, "You do it, and I'll be back in a half an hour." And I'd be stuck having to sing on a Mark Lanigan record. And I was embarrassed because I'm not a singer, but it's on the record. So I don't know, maybe, but I didn't grow up a musician is my whole point.
Now
I
I
got
have to
into
ask which record was that? Please, you must
Oh,
tell us.
it's the name of the song is Resurrection Song. So I think it's I don't think it's on, I think it's on Field Music, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, it might be on Field Music. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not sure. But it's
definitely.
Resurrection Song. It's really, I do some answer vocals to him.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'll
So,
definitely have to check it
but
out.
my point is, I'm not, I didn't grow up in bands, playing in bands like my brothers did and all that stuff. But
Okay.
when you're, huh?
No, just say I was just saying, okay, yeah, you didn't.
Yeah. But my point is, when you're in the room with all these talented people, I mean, it rubs off after a while. Honestly, like with even like production and arrangements and stuff like that, I would be in the room listening and I'd be like, oh, wow, they did a modulation in the last chorus. Oh, for example, Red Cross, in 93 or 94, 95. They have a song called Monolith. And literally at the end of the song, they repeat the chorus three times and they modulate up in key each time. And my mind blew up when I heard that. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, modulating. Just go up in key like a half step or a step.
They
And
modulated the key up for of the.
but the point is, like at that point, now I'm totally addicted. I love modulations. And honestly, if I'm producing a record, I'll suggest one a record. Like, even if you go to a bridge, I'll say, like, oh, why don't you modulate at the bridge and then come back down to lift the song or whatever. But the point is, I see this stuff in action and I see these people really do it well. And it makes me think, oh, this is something that's really useful. That really makes the song better. And then you start, thinking about it. So,
When you say modulate the bridge or like a part of the song, do you mean that it's you
like
mean
if
like
the
the
song is
keys,
in,
the key,
yeah,
so
if the song
the
is in
pitch.
E, you go up to like E sharp.
Of course, yeah. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
often, as you're
But
saying, that's
I just want. Go ahead. I'm listening. I just want to make sure my computer doesn't go to sleep.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's yeah, that's so often overlooked and I think is missing. Whereas in the 80s, for example, I think that was in
Right.
every track, right? When you it's so catchy. Even
I mean, there was a lot of it. Sure, the Kinks did it, like a bunch of bands. The Beatles did it.
I think very
Like
much a
and
radio
that's yeah. But
thing.
also, like maybe the Rolling Stones didn't do it as much because they were more like just a hard, hard or like a very straightforward band. But the point is, if you go back and listen to random like hits from the 60s or 70s, you'll say, "Oh, that was really cool. They did that there." When growing up, you didn't think about it because it was just part of the song.
Yes,
So,
yes, with
yeah,
with hits. If we are here,
yeah,
you were mentioning that you it was you grew up late 60s and 70s and
right,
basically as growing up in this era was for you like a dream coming true,
right.
which I believe it must be true because I mean what you've done is amazing. 40 years of all these
Thank
credits
you.
and no really and what I was going to ask is was there any did you have favorite you probably had favorite bands or songs
Oh
or
yeah, yeah.
just would you like to mention a couple of them? Like,
Well, I mean, so I grew up in a house where my older brother, who's 10 years older than me, he would play Bob Dylan, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, stuff like that. Blue Cheer, a lot of like the cool early psychedelic stuff, but not like, prog rock. He
mhm.
was a big Frank Zappa guy. So I grew up listening to that stuff. And then when I started peeling off with my friends, we were very much in the beginning into prog rock, progressive rock, which would be
Sure.
Yes, King Crimson, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Pink Floyd, um,
Yeah,
and
what bands are
Gentle Giant.
not
I don't think I meant a Gentle Giant, but the point is that
Gentle Giant, I didn't know.
oh yeah, they're really cool, but really quirky.
Okay.
But point that we go to all the concerts. We get on the train in Brooklyn and go into Manhattan and go to Madison Square Garden and see Pink Floyd or see Yes or remember when Pink Floyd released The Wall, which was like a massive record for them. They only played in two cities on the tour because the concert involved them building the wall the whole way during the concert. So
Mm-hmm.
they were playing on stage, and then by the time it ends, the wall's up and you can't see them. But
Yeah, I
like
remember
they
I've seen some
all,
of the footage.
yeah.
It's incredible.
So the point is, the amount of production it took meant that they couldn't just drive to a different city every day because it would take forever to do it. So I think they did 6 nights in Los Angeles and then
Oh
six
yeah.
nights in New York. And we went to one of the nights. It was really amazing. But the point is, I was really into that at that time. And then there was a shift in what I personally started liking because I started getting into David Bowie and Queen and stuff like that, more like glammy Roxy music. Um,
Amazing.
so I think my first 5 concerts as a kid were Joni Mitchell, The Kinks, Roxy Music, Queen, and then I think Yes were the first 5 concerts.
Wow.
Because when I was younger, we didn't. No, wait, that's not true. I got to take that back. So my first 5 concerts were Queen. I don't think Queen was there because the first 3 concerts my brother took me to because I was too young to go into the city myself. So that's why he liked Roxy Music. He liked the Kinks. He liked Joni Mitchell. Well, I did too. But then I started going to concerts myself. But yeah, we crossed over into more of a kind of glam thing, and I was just a super fan, honestly. The David Bowie things, the Queen concerts, I saw them like every show from the first record on, like for until News of the World. Like every time a record came out and they toured, I would go with my friends to the shows. We were obsessed with music. So
Sure.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
those are amazing bands to actually, although wasn't growing up in the 60s and 70s, but the Queen and Bowie were two of the first bands I was listening to as well as like a
Right,
as at
right.
the age of from the age of 10
Yeah, yeah,
because of my parents
yeah,
were yeah. I've had a greatest hits VHS from the Queen. It was the Queen 2,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't know how many, if not maybe 100 times is too much to say, but like
yeah,
yeah, I watched it all the time. And Bowie
yeah. Well,
was
Queen.
sorry,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Bowie, you
and
were saying
Bowie
Bowie.
was yeah, David Bowie was yeah, my mother was really into him. She got a
Yeah,
greatest hits from someone, and so
yeah,
we were just listening to that all the time.
yeah,
So it's a great influence. I wish I had seen any of them live. It's like
yeah, yeah. The Queen thing was interesting because Queen 2, which was produced by Roy Thomas Baker, who's a legend. That was a record where sitting in my basement, smoking a little weed, listening to the record on my stereo, and then hitting, dropping the needle on side one, and the first song is called Ogre Battle, and
which one?
it starts like what?
What song? The
Ogre Battle. It
Ogre
starts
Battle.
it. Yeah. So it's there's a theme, But anyway, it starts with a bunch of backwards music, like drums, backwards drums.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is like 1977 or whatever. Like that's not easy to do on analog tape.
You mean like
But they
okay,
whole yeah,
wait,
they have first the tape and then play it right.
reversed it. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's like shoom, 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 all backwards, and then it rises to this crescendo, and then it goes boom, and then it goes into the regular song, the regular, the right way. And I was like sitting there, like, how the fuck? What was that? And I just had no idea what the hell I was hearing, and it literally was like, who is the guy who's making these records? And I started looking at. That was the beginning of me looking at credits to see who produced, who engineered, because it was such a fascinating sound that I'd never heard before that I didn't know how they created. So it's all stuff like that as a kid that really made me think about, and that's why I love the records because like you could really sit there and look at the record and read the lyrics and see who produced it. You know what I mean? And we kind of got away from that a little bit for a while. And you really don't know who's like working on this stuff or you know what I mean? But that's for the nerds that really care.
Sure, yeah. And then if we're here, you told me about that he was one of your mentors, Roy Thomas
Um,
Baker.
well, he wasn't, I've never really actually worked with him.
Okay.
But he was one of my idols.
Of course,
And
in that sense. No,
yeah,
that
yeah.
perfectly counts
But
because
I
yeah, I'm
did
like
spend a
you in
day
the
with
sense.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did spend a day with him in Los Angeles because
Oh, really?
a friend of mine, yeah, well, a friend of mine, this was like thinking, I think it was in the early 2000s, but I was there working and I had a day off and he was there looking at studios. He had a project he wanted to do and I was in the running for maybe recording it. So I got in my rental car, picked him up at the Mondrian Hotel, and we looked at a bunch of different studios all day. And we were probably out for like 3 or 4 hours and talked a lot in the car. And I dropped him off. He invited me up to his place where him and his wife were getting ready for a party that night. And I hung with them for like another hour, and then I left. And I guess he probably hired somebody else to do the gig, and or maybe he didn't even do the gig. I don't know. I never heard from him again. And this is pre. I want to say it was pre cell phone, so it might have been the late '90s, because it wasn't like I was can text him and be like, "Hey." So, but like one of my mentors was definitely Jack Douglas, who did all the early Cheap Trick, and he did a bunch of John Lennon records, and my other
Aerosmith.
mentor, yeah, my other mentor would be Bill Whitman, who recorded the first Cyndi Lauper record, produced the Outfield records. He did like a fix record. I did a fix record with him in Montserrat,
Oh,
and I
was that
learned a
the
lot.
one in Montserrat? That's the
Yeah, Calm Animals.
in '88,
Yeah, it was '88.
the Calm Animals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah. That
listened
was
to it.
wild.
It's such an amazing record. It's
It
fantastic
was
sound.
it, dude, it was such a trip.
And also the bands. Yeah, they had such a
I want to
signature.
hang out. Yeah. And
They
they
had
were
such a
great
signature.
guys. They were all so nice. They were so much fun to hang with. Like it was really a pleasure because you're staying together at the studio. So at the end of the session after 10 hours, you're kind of stuck with them. You're eating dinner, and then you're playing pool, then you're watching TV. You don't just go, you're not anywhere where I'm going to go walk down the block and go to a bar. There's no bars. Like, you have to go to town. It takes forever.
Okay, of
But the
course.
point was we had so much fun. We had so much fun together, and it was really, yeah, it was really great.
Where was that when you were because you're saying it was in Montserrat. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Was it that's the one was in Oxford Circus, right?
No, that the outfield was in Oxford Circus. The fix was Air Montserrat, which was the island in the British West Indies.
Oh my God, I'm so oh yeah, of course, of
Yeah, yeah,
course. Yes,
yeah, yeah. You're
because
fine.
Air, sorry, so sorry.
Yeah, no air,
Yes,
but
I was
air.
thinking
So,
connected the
so
dots wrongly. Yeah,
Air.
Airhead before the Oxford
Yeah,
Circus one.
but check this out.
But no,
So Air
Montserrat is
Montserrat,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, Air Montserrat is where the police film that video. Every little thing she does is magic, and they're dancing on the console. And
Hmm.
apparently, they got yelled at for doing that because you're
Sorry,
not supposed to.
they got
Yeah,
what?
they got yelled at because you're not
Oh,
supposed
they
to
shouldn't
dance.
have done. Oh, they danced on the console. No, they of course that's dangerous. I mean anything
You
could
have to,
happen.
you have to see the video. It's so funny. It really is.
I'm gonna have to see it. Of course. Yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
That's crazy. So
yeah,
there. Yeah, my gosh. That's
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So
That's
anyway,
such a really cool.
but Montserrat was a special experience because it's like you worked all day, and then at 6 o'clock, at dusk when it started getting dark, you see all these bats flying out of the attic, out of this little the hole in the wall that just fly outside, and they flew out every day at the same time. So like if you were walking out of the house to go to the studio and you were walking that time, they would be flying over your head. And it
Bats.
wasn't like 10, it was like a ton of them. So apparently they all lived in the attic of the studio building. But
Wow.
then we'd go snorkeling, if we had a day off, we'd all go snorkeling in the water. We go look at fish and this and that. And if we did go to town, um, at night to go get drinks, the bars stayed open. There were no laws, so the bars stayed open as long as you were drinking. So we might be walking out and it's like a 15-20 minute walk to get back to the studio. We might be walking back, and a pickup truck would come by, and some local guy would be like, "Hey man, you going to studio?" And we'd be like, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "Get in the back of the truck. I'll take you there." And the would just drive us to this. They were so nice. It was the craziest thing. I never experienced anything like that growing up in Brooklyn, New York. It was wild. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So you grew
yeah.
up there. You grew up there,
Brooklyn, Texas.
Brooklyn, New
Yeah,
York, and then you mentioned your brother Anthony, right?
yeah,
You've been talking about him already now a lot. And before you told me he was working at Eventide
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
and working
no,
on the
yeah, he's a
harmonizer.
yeah, yeah. No, he's a legend.
Yeah.
He is an digital audio legend. So when I was a kid, he was working there, and I was in high school, and he had already designed the H910, which was the first unit that would digitally change pitch. Like nothing else did that before. So that was
Yes.
his idea, and he figured it out, and it sounded really good. I mean, it was so good that Tony Visconti would use it all the time on David Bowie records to pitch down the snare drum or this or that. And they became friends after a while because Tony Visconti was a big fan of the stuff my brother designed. Um, and that was ridiculous because I loved Tony Visconti's records. So here I'm like freaking out that, oh my God, oh, Mr. Visconti, it's so great to meet you. Call me Tony,
Yeah, he's
you
fantastic. I
know.
mean, he's
But my brother did that. And that's why my summer job in high school was working at Eventide. I put together things or deliver packages to Electric Lady, or the other one was, find a dead rat in the basement storage room that's smelling up the whole basement. So I'd have to go with a mask and gloves and, pick up the dead rat, put it in a bag, throw it out. But I
this
did all
was
that kind
all where in Montserrat or no
no, this
in the
is
Eventide.
in Manhattan, New York City.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is the Eventide.
Montserrat is, yeah, Eventide was in New York City.
Yeah. No, I know, but
Yeah, this is Eventide. Yeah.
the one
But that was
scenario you were talking about. Okay, of course. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
but the point is
That's
but I'm like 17, and this is I got a summer job, so at least I'm making
yeah,
money, buy my
yeah.
own stereo and shit like that.
And
But
then he
but the
organized an interview for you.
huh?
He was the one.
Yeah,
He the one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then you got the job in
At
the
the
record
record,
plant.
right, the record plant in New York City, correct.
And
Yeah,
you met your mentors also like
yeah,
also also the other John who you just talked
yeah,
about who worked with Aerosmith and
yeah, 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 yeah,
yes
yeah, Jack.
Jack
But yeah,
Doug
no,
sorry Jack I'm
Jack
sorry
Douglas. Yeah,
Jack
yeah.
Douglas I meant and I actually knew him a little bit I mean about him because I've seen an interview with him somehow earlier and yeah he's amazing person.
Yeah, he's still doing really cool stuff. He's got a record label.
Yeah.
He's like, he's just active. It's like really great. And the thing was at that point in my life, I think it was 1982, I was getting married to my college sweetheart, and I was working at the record plant. And literally at the wedding reception, Jack and his wife were invited. And then my friend Rod O'Brien, who was an engineer for Jack, him and his girlfriend at the time were invited. They came to the wedding, and it was literally, I don't know, 60 really Brooklyn Italian like people, real Italian, and then these four New York City hipsters. And it was the funniest thing, like
My God.
watching my aunt and uncle talk to Jack or Rod, and it was like such a dichotomy. But that was my thing. I mean, they were my mother to this day still really likes Jack because there were certain mornings, like at 4 in the morning, where Jack would give me $20 to take a cab home, as opposed to take the train. And my mother will never, as a Sicilian mother, she will never forget that.
Wow.
So, like, really interesting. Yeah, because she still likes him. She still asks me, "Have you talked to Jack lately?" She's like
Yeah.
96.
So yeah,
So,
he was so
yeah,
generous.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, that's and then how was yeah, so how was it how was first meeting with such mentors and you've been
I mean, I was in awe. I was really like this little kid, this 19-year-old kid who was just like stunned. It was the craziest fucking thing. I really, and I was always like nervous, but it took me years later to kind of just get used to and try to like inject kind of funny, be the funny person so people would laugh at me and not fire me or stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I starting to have a rapport. But in the beginning, no, it was really, it was imposing. You'd be like, I just got off the elevator with John Lennon. What am I going to say to John Lennon? I'm a big fan. Yeah, great. Everybody's a fucking big fan. He's a legend. He was a legend. But anyway, no, it was good. But people were really, really nice. And um, the bottom line was, it was like when you were in there working, because it was 1982 or 81, and because of the way technology worked back then, we were all busy, like it wasn't like any of us had these to be on the phone or a computer. You know what I mean? You didn't, and there were no TVs in the control room, so there was no distractions. So, but you'd run the assistant me would run the tape machine. I'd have to do all the punch-ins. So, like Jack would say, let's punch that guitar in the first chorus. So I'd have my number sheets of, the first chorus starts at, 50 seconds. So I'd hit play, punch in, punch out. But it was always you always had to be focused because there was so much to do, so much detail. And yeah, so it was good, but also that enabled me to watch how these guys worked, and I learned a lot from watching them work. I really, really did. And I'll be very honest, and I won't name names, but I also worked with some engineers who were not that great, and I learned a lot from them too, which I thought was also really important. I learned what not to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Like what?
And
Would you like to tell a bit more about that? Because I think that's also,
not how to talk to clients.
and not
You
what?
know.
Sorry, not
Well, I mean, no, well, I learned a lot of how not to talk to clients or the artists because I'd see, I don't want to name names because that's not right. But I see a certain engineer would have an argument or have a bad attitude with the producer or with the artist who is singing, and it would like mess up the session a little bit. And then everybody would like really not be happy and be mad at each other. And I was like, I never want to be that guy. I think you basically get your best results when everybody is happy and feeling confident of what they're doing, not when you trigger people to be angry and say, that sucked. What's
oh,
wrong with you? You could, can't you do that any better? That's not how you get that. You don't
oh
get better
no,
from
no,
that.
of course. That's
Stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, now I think it's
Yeah.
yeah. Um, no, I wanted to say now I think it's much
Well,
easier.
now I will also say, yeah, but it works way better now for me being 65 and working with a lot of younger kids because, the comforting thing is helpful, especially when you've only made two records in the studio and you're not used to it. You know what I mean?
You
You
can't be
gotta,
65.
hug them, comfort.
You can't be 65.
What?
You can't be 65. No, you're like 10 at
I
least
can't
10 years younger than that.
I can't act 65, but I can be 65. I don't act 65.
Well, you look like 50 or maximum. I mean,
This doesn't look, no, I look old, but whatever.
no,
It's fun.
no, 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 not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
really. Uh,
Yeah. But anyway, but that point is the attitude and how you deal with artists and how you keep things positive and you help them get through. You help them. You know what I mean? You comfort them. You keep them comfortable so that they can sing and do whatever and not worry about it.
yeah,
Um,
that's
it's so important. For me at least. That's how I like working. But I even like I'll do like I worked with a really wonderful band of three teenage girls called Horse Girl about 3 years ago in Chicago. And we had a lot of fun. They were really young. They were around a little older than my younger daughter. So I'm comfortable being around kids that age. But I knew that if I just acted really goofy and did like really goofy things, they would just laugh and be really like it would be fun and they would be comfortable.
Okay,
So
so
I
that
would
kind of
just say
stuff.
silly things and dad jokes and this and that, and they would go, John, you're so ridiculous, you know. And then they go in and I'd make them do 20 takes of each song. And they were great. They really did it and they played really great. And you know, they were young, they had great energy and they got great takes after a while. But you know, while we were all talking, I would just be really silly and you know, they would laugh at me because I was being goofy. So it was just a fun thing to do. So
Of course, yeah. Like
yeah,
your younger daughter you were talking about is the one that was born just before the actual recording of Rather Ribbed,
yeah, yeah.
which is one of my favorite Sonic Youth records. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I love that record.
I love that record too, and yeah, it has special importance to me because of the time I was listening to it a lot, which is when
Right.
when it came out. And so yeah, we just talked about that record. You told me that detail,
Yeah.
not a small detail,
No. Well,
but
the best was literally telling my wife right before she was about to give birth. So, all right, so you'll give birth to Bella. I'll hang out with you for a few days and then I'm gonna go start this record with Sonic Youth. And she was like, no, you're not. You're gonna stay here with me for like 3 weeks a month until I feel better. And I was like, okay. So I called the band and they were like, you know, I'm having a kid. And they were like, no, 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 you're cool. Just we got someone to start the record with us. Just when you're ready, just jump in.
wow,
And that's what
that's so
happened.
nice.
Yeah, they were really nice about it.
Yeah,
You know.
they're the coolest. I mean,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
to say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you so yeah, then you went. Was that in Echo Canyon as well? Their
Uh,
studio, or was it
yeah. Well, no, yeah,
Hoboken, New
no, that
Jersey,
one.
right?
No, wait, let me think. Sear Sound in Manhattan, in New York
Sear
City,
Sound.
because they
Okay,
really
man.
like that studio too.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
SEAR, Sear Sound, and
Yeah.
that's a really great studio still to this day.
Hmm.
And I've done some stuff with Dino there, and other people. I did a record with the band The Kills there. That was
Ooh,
really fun.
yeah, they
But
are
anyway,
amazing.
they love that studio, so we worked there, and then we mixed it. I think we mixed it at Sear actually, and then the Eternal we recorded at their studio, Echo Canyon, and then mixed that at Water Music. So, which was so
Water
it was.
music?
Yeah, Water Music was a great big room in Hoboken, New Jersey that
Okay.
basically during Hurricane Sandy in 2012, I was mixing with a band called the Thermals from Portland, and we knew that the Monday would be the day of the hurricane hit at night, and we were supposed to work through Wednesday, and we just finished as much. We worked all night Sunday night. At 4 in the morning, we packed up, we took all our tapes, we took everything, and ultimately all their gear. And I actually did make them stay with me at my house because I was worried that if it was really bad, the studio would flood, and they were staying at the studio. And long story short, you know, we did multiple trips with all their guitars and all of them, their suitcases, got them in my house, put them just in beds and couches wherever they could fit. And that night, the Monday night, the studio took in 7 feet of water. It was really bad, really, really bad. And
That was
we ended
their
up,
own studio you were.
no, this was
Echo.
owned by a couple of different people. It
Oh,
was
this is
owned
another studio. Sorry, I lost. I thought.
Water Music. It's ironically called Water Music, and
Oh,
it got
that's
flooded.
actually its name.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. So that's water
yeah,
music. And then it
yeah.
flooded.
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
But you
So
just saved everything. So,
we ended up finishing the record on digital like a week later, where I just went to another studio and just like fixed all the mixes so they were happy. But the thing was that studio, Water Music, took in 7 feet of water and was pretty much out of commission for like 3 months until they got everything fixed and all that. But
wow.
I remember 2 days later driving over to like see everybody and see how everything was going. And I had equipment there, and some of that got, you know, washed, got like destroyed. But I just remember driving down the block that the studio was on, and on the sidewalk. Each side of the sidewalk had furniture piled up out front on the street from every ground floor apartment got flooded. So everything was gone. Like people were just throwing out all their furniture and mattresses and stuff like that. And then when I got to the studio, there was like 15 people out in the front lawn dropping pieces of equipment in buckets of water to wash out the salt from the from the sewage
My God.
that
Oh,
was in
that's
there.
very.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I went in and five of us had to lift the piano because all in the piano was just water. It was like a pool of water. It was really awful. Like it was so bad. So, you know,
Yeah,
Hurricane
that's
Sandy.
yeah, that's bad. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. So the thermals stayed with me for like 3 days, and then I put them on a plane back to Portland, Oregon, and then I finished the record remotely with them. So
okay.
yeah, that was a good studio. But that's where we mixed the whatchamacallit, the Eternal. So
Yeah, water music. Water
yeah.
music. Yeah, it's great that you could save everything and very thoughtful of you because
Yeah.
so that's part of the job actually.
Yeah, yeah. But also, we were watching the news days before because they said hurricanes. They kept saying, this is going to be a big hurricane.
Yeah.
And like my assistant engineer was like out in the lounge watching the news. And even what he did was what they did at the studio was we stopped the whole Monday day before the hurricane hit at night. They took all the modules out of the console, put them upstairs. They moved whatever they could carry, put it upstairs. They couldn't move the piano or gear out of the racks and put all that on the second floor, so none of that got damaged. But
Yeah.
they knew it could be really, people were boarding up their windows in Hoboken with
Yeah.
wood. It was like really people expecting it to be very bad. So
Yeah. Wow. So
yeah,
yeah, okay, that's but this is how it was finished and you mentioned they were always playing in the room together. It was a live
yeah.
recording.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah, the
yeah,
Eternal was
I mean
funny.
after that you told me that I could yeah, basically whatever record I listened to from them, it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's live. You can hear it. It's like a it's like jazz basically.
yeah. I think the record that I heard about that Butch Vig produced of theirs called Dirty.
Dirties.
I and they recorded that, I believe, at the Magic Shop in New York City. And what I heard from people was that they were all in the room, all four of them, and the amps were all in the room. So everything was blasting in the room. The drums, the bass, Kim's bass amp, Lee and Thurston's guitar amps, and they were all just blasting in the room. There was no isolation, and that's how they liked it because that was like live. So when we did it, I'm kind of a dork. I put the amps in a different room next to each other so we could have the openness of the drums. And but they were cool with that. But it was by then they had a Pavement bass player, Mark Ibold, was playing bass, and they had Kim, Lee, and Thurston playing guitar. So it was, I mean, it like when they got a track that was a keeper track and they came in, it already sounded like finished because there was so much stuff going on. It was the craziest thing. Like I was like, all right, well, I guess now we're ready for vocals because like you didn't need to do overdubs. It was such a sonic, you know, fucking piece of work. It was amazing. So yeah, they were fun to work with.
Yeah. It seems like yeah, they had a lot to say on that
They had a
record.
lot to say. But also
I mean, it was
Thurston was
just like a it's just like and also like yeah, just a masterpiece really
yeah,
for a
yeah,
last record of the
yeah.
band.
But Thurston was also great because, I talk to people quite a bit about like, yeah, I work with these guys. I give them my 2 cents. I tell them what I think. But like with Thurston and Jay from Dino, it's like they've made so many records that they don't really care what I think about like the music or arrangement or that stuff like that. They just want to do what they want to do, and my job is to make sure that they get everything down and everybody's happy and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny. So at one point, I'm in the control room at their studio. We're recording, and I have an idea about something, and I walk out to the to the studio, and I look at Thurston, and before I open my mouth, he's like, "What do you want?" And I look at him and went, "Oh, nothing." And I just went back into the control room and hit record. I was like, "Nah, I'm not going to go there. He doesn't want to hear what I have to say."
Okay.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
it was very funny.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, you're mixing and I think your production style is also. And here I wanted to get back to where we were in the beginning a little bit because you said about and also the credits on all music. Many of them isn't only producing, recording, and mixing, but it's also a lot of you've got credited for arrangements and things like
right,
that. But producing
right,
itself
right,
is that's what that's what it is really. I mean, you've got your ideas besides letting the band do what they want
right, right,
and giving them the best possible
right.
circumstances or just
Yeah,
let them do their best. But you've got
yeah.
uh yeah, and you also
Well,
got
I just
sorry, no,
no,
yeah,
go ahead.
please please
Also
please
got go ahead.
tell me about that.
No, no, no. But you said you also got what were you going to say? You
You
also got
also got a very clean mixing style according
right,
to my ears. uh and also on the Sonic Youth records it's very audible that
right,
you didn't do it like it was done in the case of Dirty. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. But this is basically
right.
two things.
Well,
So maybe you can.
I will be very honest because of yeah, no, but if you think about it and you think how I grew up in recording as an assistant and who I worked for, um, it all kind of does make sense because I grew up with watching people like Jack Douglas, Rod O'Brien, Bill Whitman, Shelley Ackes, Dave Thoner. These are all wonderfully talented engineers who, made Tom Petty records, the Hooters, the Outfield, Cyndi Lauper, Aerosmith, Cheap Trick. These are all great sounding records. And I learned how to record from, people who made classic records that sounded great. So when I got into the Dinosaur Jr., Hold Steady, Sonic Youth world, the indie rock world, kind of, I brought to them more of a polished, in a sense, sound, but a bigger sound, a more. I'll give you a perfect example. A friend of mine was interviewing Steve Malkmus from Pavement a bunch of years ago, maybe 6, 8 years ago. And somehow in the interview, my name came up, and he was like, "Oh, that the commercial recording producer engineer guy, commercial being like commercial radio. You know what I mean? Because in his brain, my records sound polished, so it doesn't sound like indie rock to him. He doesn't think I'm an indie rock guy. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
I think he thinks my records sound too good. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They're not rough enough. But I get it, and I just took it as I laughed when the guy told me the story, and I thought it was like very
Sure.
funny. But the point is like, but I did bring a sonic, for example, for the Dinosaur Jr. records. Like, I definitely I wanted those guitars to jump out of the speakers in your face, and I mic'd them
And
a
they
certain.
do.
I put but I did use certain mics. The placement of the mics on the speaker very important, and I made sure that they were when all you got to do is bring up the one fader, and it's like it's there. And I felt like I tried to do that with Sonic Youth too. That's just been my style all the way along. Um, I don't know. I just look at it as like that's the way I learned how to record from really great people. So I try to maintain that thing, and I feel like my records sound the way I do because of the way I was raised in the music recording world. So, yeah.
Is that only like the only mic is basically on the center cone of the
Yeah, but
speaker,
what I
and that's
do
all.
actually I use a variation of either 2 or 3 mics, but if this is the cone right here blowing that way,
Hmm.
the main mic, best sounding one, is very close and right up against it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of air between sound and the microphone,
Yes.
because I always feel like the further back you move the microphone, there's more air.
Hmm.
And then with air, you get less impact.
Yes.
You
It's
know what
like
I
a
mean?
a
Yeah,
less
this is
direct
space. It's
sound.
softer sounding. So the
Sorry.
closer you get, it's softer sounding.
Okay. Yeah.
So the closer you get to the speaker without the microphone, breaking up, is you get more direct sound. That's why it's like I said, it's like your face is right in the speaker.
Sure.
Think
Yeah.
about it that like so.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's yeah. You did that like amazingly
I
well
like I mean
on all these
that's the way
records.
I learned to do it. That's what I mean. It's not like I didn't invent it. I watched really great people make great sounding records. So I was like, I want to do that.
If we're here back a little bit to the beginning, um, John Cougar Mellencamp is the record you've done for him is,
Yeah.
but that's so beautiful, that sound, and just
Yeah.
everything is so clean and I love that sound. It's very 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 delicate. So that's yeah, very. You've been working like such a wide range of genres and styles. I feel that it's
Right.
but you
Yeah. I'm
maintain
just looking up.
to keep that style of yours. So how do you do
Yeah,
that?
I just want to look up. I want because I want to say something, but I want to make sure I get it right.
Okay.
Um, Hang on 1 second. I believe so. I think on that record, let me see what the personnel was, because I don't want to mistake. Oh shit, no. Huh, sorry about this.
No, no, please take your
Doesn't
time.
That's weird that it doesn't say who. I'm pretty sure Dave Thoner mixed it. Um, but anyway, we did that at the record plant. That was when I was an assistant at the record plant. Yeah, it doesn't name any of the people working on the record. Interesting.
Are you
Anyway,
looking on?
yeah, I'm looking at Wiki. But the point was, mixed at the record plant. I was the assistant engineer. I was actually kind of into him at that point, even though that was soon to be his biggest record at the time. He was a super nice guy, super Midwestern for the United States guy, and kind of a lot of fun, but a little nutty, but still fun. He was good in his soul. He was a good person, but it was an amazing experience working on that record because just man, it was the songs were so great, and Dave Thoner to me is one of my mixing, so totally a mixing mentor. I didn't work a ton with him, but when I did, they were really good records. He was such a great guy. So,
Sorry, who? Dave.
Dave Thoner,
Dave was he?
he
You
was a
were
record plant staff engineer.
okay
Yeah,
at the
he
time.
was staff.
You were assisting.
Yeah, I was assisting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably 81, 82. So, a bunch of those records, like the Cyndi Lauper record, that record, Twisted Sister, the Aerosmith records, I was all the assistant engineer. In fact, Dave, I believe, also mixed the John Waite record that had that hit song Missing You, which was a very popular song. I ain't missing you at all. It was like really popular in the 80s. Very mellow song-ish. But Dave mixed that among other things, and he was just I mean, he was just really known for a lot of his mixing. Like he was the classic mixer, one of the classic mixers. The other guy at the record plant who was like that too, and also known as a great engineer, was the guy Shelly Yakis.
Shelly
And
Diakis. I wanted to because you didn't
yeah,
mention her to me. So I
him,
him.
Scott.
Sorry,
That's right.
I was no
Yeah.
sorry. Of course. My
Hey,
I make
Doesn't
mix
matter.
again something up in my head.
Yeah, don't worry
Uh,
about
can I Shelly? How do you say that name? How do you
it.
spell it?
The first name,
No, Shelly is yeah, Shelly I got, but what's his last name?
Yackus. Chaliakis. Yeah,
Okay.
he's a legend. If you look at his discography, it's like fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean all the mentors you've been just you yeah
Oh no, it's
kept
crazy.
mentioning they are all
It's nuts. Well, here's the thing to remember. Okay, so in 1981, you have to go to a professional recording studio to record. You don't have a tape machine in your house. There's no computers. You have to go to a studio, a professional commercial studio to record. Um, so there aren't a ton of them, but in New York City at that time, there's like maybe three or four really popular ones. There's Electric Lady, there's the Record Plant, there's Media Sound, there's the Hit Factory. And each one of those studios has multiple rooms. But the point is, there's not a lot of places to go. So not a lot of people are recording. And the people who are recording, a lot of them, like at the record plant, were all great engineers. They had so many great people come through their doors. It was crazy. So, it's not a lot of DIY, like do it yourself stuff. You had to go to a place where, hopefully they were professional. And the record plant had such a great reputation through the 70s into the 80s that just all these guys grew up learning from each other. You know what I mean? Like Dave Thoner from Shelly Atkins. It was like almost going to school, for recording because you just learned so much. It was
hmm,
really great.
yeah. I think many of us who are interested in the art of recording, I can if I can say it this way, we're very interested in
Right.
we all wish
Yeah.
we had been there at that time where you were
It
when
was
you
a
were
different time,
because
honestly, but I feel like if you talk about the concepts of like what's going on,
there's
because
no
you
envy
compare.
here, just saying that,
Oh, I know. Oh, I get it.
wow.
But I look at it like, you know, in a way, it's kind of cool. Not in a way, it's kind of cool that anybody can make their own music and record it now.
Yeah, that's
You
on
know what I
the
mean? Which back
yeah.
then you couldn't really do it that easily. But and that means that, even people with, guys who work 9 to 5, who do this or that, or architects or this, on weekends they could record their solo record, and that's great. I feel like the creation of music is nothing ever wrong with creating art or creating music. The 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 downside is then you have a lot of music out there, so it's hard to keep track of and find everybody. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
there's ups and downs of everything. But back then
Yeah, very
in
true.
80, the only way you got your music heard is if you were on a major label. You know what I mean? Like a record label, a record
Yeah.
company. And they would promote it, and that's how you got it heard. Now, you got Spotify, you got social media, you got TikTok, there's so many different ways to find music. And you just have the internet. So it's just but the point is when you're looking for something, there's so much out there. It's hard to keep
Exactly.
track,
And then
you
you feel
know?
like, I mean, yeah, at least for me, I think it's easy to feel like it's kind of overflowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Whereas when you're there on a gig, it's just a gig, and that's it,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
live, and it's all happening
Yeah.
right there. So
But see, but I'll tell you a fun thing. A fun thing is me and my one of my friends who works at the gym I go to. He's into a music guy, and I saw one day he had a Queens of the Stone Age T-shirt on, so we started talking about music, and we started talking about the band King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, right? And
that's
that's
a
a
great.
band I think from Australia. And but we were talking about them, And we were talking about how many records they put out and how different all the records are. And it's about 20 records they have out. So what's great about 2024 is now I'm driving around in my car every day listening to their whole catalog on Tidal, and like I'm able to listen to every one of their records. I listen to one, okay, now the next one I'm going in reverse time. So I'm about three deep. But it's fun to be able to do that now, which back, 30 years ago, you couldn't do that. You had to buy every CD and put it in your car and play it in your car.
Yes.
So
It's
there's
just
good and bad
yeah,
about everything. But
yeah,
it is fun to be able to do that. So
sure. Yeah, you can just listen to one artist or and then yeah, hear all their catalog. Yeah, that's
right.
definitely. Um, you mentioned you told me you played ping pong with Meatloaf.
Oh, Meatloaf.
I can't
Yeah.
stop listening to that record you've been mixing.
Like that ringer?
So just so
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, it's very funny.
So he
So what
won.
ends up happening,
He won. He
he
won.
had to win.
He
He
had to
had to
win.
win. I was like, I think I was the second engineer. That record was kind of complicated. So I think they had two assistant engineers on it. I was the junior one, not the main one. But one of the things that they had me do one day, which was they, I guess they were mixing, and I guess Meatloaf was kind of distracting them from getting the mix. So they just sent me out into the studio to play ping pong with him for like 2 hours. And it was crazy. I'm 22, I loved he was my idol, one of my idols from the first record, which was a classic million selling record.
Yeah.
Out of the box, no one had ever heard of him, and he sold like 5 million records. But anyway, the point was we're playing ping pong, and I'm a young kid. He's big guy, and I'm hitting the ping pong ball like over my shoulder, hit me in the head, hit me in the chest, and it's the ping pong ball, so you don't get hurt. But he just had the one way he played. Every ball he hit as hard as he could. And we ended up doing that for like an hour and a half. And then finally somebody came out and said, "All right, Meat, we have this song. We got the song done. We want you to check out the mix and see if you like it." And he walked in the control room and I was like, "Whew, thank God that's over." It was
Yeah.
like really,
I mean, yeah,
it was
he
ridiculous.
must have had yeah some power.
Oh my God, the ball. I mean, literally, it was crazy. It was really because but he was super competitive, but not like an asshole about it. But he was just super competitive. That's how he played. It was like the funniest thing. And
Yes.
I was like the stoner kid, like just hitting the ball back and forth, like just having fun. Like, okay, let's keep going. Yeah, yeah. So it worked out great.
Yeah, I mean, hearing his singing style is just
Oh my
exactly
God.
what I would imagine how he would play
Yeah,
ping pong.
yeah,
Just,
yeah. No, so good.
I don't know if that kind of music exists today, like that intensity of and
Yeah,
feels so honest to me. Like
yeah,
anything that he sings, I don't know actually if he
yeah.
was writing his own lyrics, but it's so his, and it's like yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if he wrote his own lyrics. I know that the first record, I think a lot of it was written by that guy Jim Steinman, who I
okay,
think wrote I think Todd Rundgren produced it, but the Jim Steinman wrote, I think, most of the songs and the lyrics. So I'm not sure who did Dead Ringer because I don't remember Jim Steinman being involved.
mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah,
yeah,
uh but he was yeah, what I was trying to say, I think he really owned it, but in the way, yeah, I don't know, like if nothing else mattered, just you know, just
right,
to
yeah, yeah, no, no, he was full on. He was
yeah,
definitely
full
full
on. That's
on.
the word. Exactly. Yeah, and I
we
love
we
that.
have a joke. We have a we have a joke in this house. We say, he has one speed, and that's go. That's it. One speed,
Yeah,
go.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
Funny.
yeah, but he must he must have been amazing to me to yeah
I just
to
love
have that
calling him.
experience. I mean,
I just love calling him meat. Everybody called him Meat. Nobody called him Meatloaf. They called him Meat. Yo, Meat, come
He-
here. Meat. I was like,
yeah.
all right. So fucking funny.
And then Madrugada,
Yeah,
um, and also the Sivert Høyem
yeah,
record.
yeah,
Is that the
yeah,
correct way of saying
yeah.
it?
Hoyam. Yeah,
Yeah, both of them are very. I mean, he was the later singer, as I found out, but
right.
not the one on the Nightly Disease and what's the other
No, he
record?
was. He was on those records. Yeah,
Already? Because yeah, I was thinking that's yeah, he has
yeah,
such a persona, but then there's
yeah.
another. Okay, so it's him. So
Yeah.
it's him because there was another singer earlier, but he passed away. I read. It must have been me.
But it
I got
wasn't.
something wrong,
I
maybe.
don't think it was on, maybe because I basically when I started working with them, he was the singer, and it was I think it was maybe their second record, but the point is that
No, it sounded like him to me. It did sound
yeah,
like
hold
him
on.
to me. So I thought I was.
Let me look really quick here. So yeah, I the first record um I worked on with them was I believe Industrial Silence was it was called, and I just mixed it.
Yeah, 1999.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
came to the States and it went very well, and we all got along very good. And they that record did very well for them when it came out in Norway. Yeah, and then we just started working on different records together. We worked on three or four after a while. I think, and I think then sadly the guitar player Robert passed away. Um, and but they were honestly like very, very popular, like in Norway and Germany. They did really in Greece they were and I don't I think Sievert has a new record coming out in the next like 6 months, a solo record.
Yeah.
But once Robert passed away, I mean, I think they still continued, but it was Robert was really a very important person in the band musically for them.
Yes, it was
So I
him
just
I was
remember,
thinking of. Yeah, I was him.
yeah, yeah. But I just remember we were in the middle of making, I forget what record, but we were on a pretty long break because they were touring or whatever they were doing. But that's when I got the call about like him passing away from the band's manager, and I was just stunned because
Mm,
nobody saw that coming at all. And
sure.
it was really sad. But they kept going. They I think they added forget who subbed for him now, but point being that it was obviously a different vibe. And Sievert did the solo records, and then we had a I think it was 2015. We had a one shot deal, an EP that Sievert had. He put together a band, and they were called Paradise. And I think that EP came out, but then that band disbanded. Everybody was doing different things. So, but that was a cool record to listen to if you ever want to check it out. The band is called Paradise, and there might be a few different bands called Paradise, but you'll find this one. It was like 2015. It was like a 6 song EP,
With
and it was
Sievert on
really
it.
good. Yeah,
With
he was the
Sievert.
lead
Yeah.
singer.
Okay, of course. Yeah, I mean I love
Yeah,
his style.
yeah,
I mean Paradise is quite an accurate title for anything that he'd be doing
yeah,
because that's not really what he's
yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
but
No,
yeah, it's
he's a
very
good dude.
very down, but
Yeah,
so yeah, yeah, there's a gentleness to it,
yeah, yeah. No,
nevertheless.
he's a good dude. He's a good dude for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to Madrugada's music. A bit similar to Mark Lanegan. In my
Yeah, a
feel, maybe I'm wrong.
little bit. Yeah, yeah,
I would put them
yeah.
in maybe a
No,
little bit in the same, at least around the same
yeah. Yeah.
bracket
I
with a
think
bad
I
word.
think I would have to think I'm trying to think what would the differences be. I think Mark in general is always like seems a little more dangerous and and
He comes
also
across like that.
yeah, but also like more like in a Tom Waits type thing or something like that. Whereas Sivert is more like how would I describe more gothic or something like that. But anyway, but similar. They do have similarities for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one was your favorite session with with uh with both of them? You've done many records for both of them, and also for Mark Lanegan, there was the one with Jay Maskis, Screaming Trees, which is also
Yeah.
when I first realized they were in one band, I was like, how is that
Yeah.
possible? Because they do
Yeah.
have this. Yeah. Would you tell some?
Yeah.
Would you like to tell me some stories about
Yeah.
these?
I mean, I feel like Whiskey for the Holy Ghost was a really awesome record to do with him, only because we had just finished the first Screaming Trees record, and I don't know, we got along pretty good on that record. It was like and the record had come out and done really well, and they did a lot of great touring. And I just feel like when he came to New York with the tapes for the solo record for Whiskey, I felt like we were just really locked in together, really getting along good. He was open to my comments about stuff, and we did bring in people to play. Like Jay came in and played some drums, um, stuff like that, and we really did work really well together and kind of make it, I think, like a really classic solo record. Like I feel like Whiskey, I still go back and listen to it, and it's like the River Rise and all those songs are so. I mean, he sings great, and man, it's really just so special a time.
Absolutely.
Um, and I feel like also that was before a time when he started getting in trouble with the heavier drug so less like issues. And I feel like after that, we did another Screaming Trees record, which they ended up scrapping because, quite frankly, he was just too fucked up on heroin
Hmm.
and he couldn't sing. It was just bad. It was a waste of time and money, and it really sucked. I still have rough mixes from that record, and it was sad because to watch him struggle with that shit so much when
Yeah,
this guy
heroin is
was like,
sad.
I
Yeah.
loved him. I felt bad for him, but I also it was like weird. I was mad at him for doing it, but then I felt bad for him for not being able to not do it. It was a weird one,
Yeah.
but I
Sure.
think that record was special to me. Field Songs was another good one because I got to do pretty much, I believe, the whole record or most of it. And it was great recording that one with like, great band. Ben Shepherd played bass from Soundgarden. He was really fun to be around.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
he was playing on the Mark Lanegan record.
yeah, I'm pretty sure field music that was Ben. Yeah, because we had a good
Wow.
time with him. He was quite the character. He was super
Wow.
nice. I'm trying to think, what did he do?
I'm a big
He
Soundgarden and Chris Cornell
Oh
fan,
yeah, yeah.
but
No, he's great. He's so talented and such a great, like a just a really. I think he called me. I think the entire basic tracking, like when we recorded the whole band, I mean, he didn't refer to me as John. He called me Skipper or General or something like that. Like I was the boss. And I looked at him. I was like, dude, you're the bass player in Soundgarden. You're calling me Skipper? I mean, you're the fucking boss, dude. I'm this fucking indie rock idiot from New York here. But he laughed. He always thought that was really funny. Um, but he was super nice. Oh, I remember. So we had a weekend where we had one day work and one day off, and I was staying at the studio, and he booked me this really nice spa hotel, and he paid for it, and he said that I should take the weekend and like really just relax and have a good time because I've been working really hard, and that was like the nicest thing like to do. Like he didn't have to spend his own money to put me up in a really nice place. And then, the next day, the day off, I got a massage and relaxed. And you know what I mean? It was just so nice of him. I never would have expected that. So I never forget like stuff like that. He was really awesome. And the drummer was Dan Peters from Mudhoney, who was a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure it was Dan.
well, it sounds
Um,
like an all-star.
Oh, it was so good. It
Yes.
was so, and everybody, but they all, they also all knew each other. They go bowling together or shit, stupid shit like that. You know what I mean? It was like,
Wow.
it wasn't like a big deal. They weren't like going back and forth in limousines. They were buddies. They were just, it was really
Yeah.
neat. So that was also fun. With the Madrugada stuff, I feel like that also, I just still love that Industrial Silence record. I still listen to the first song vocal a lot, or it comes up in a playlist for me. And just the way the key is, the way his voice sounds, the way his delivery is so cool. I mean, that one I really, really, really do like. I feel like, you know, it's just such a fucking great record. So
It
I
is a
would say
great record.
those two.
It's not in front of me virtually now, but I did listen to it like a lot of
Yeah, go back
times.
and listen to that.
Have
It's
to.
got a really cool vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, yeah, all the you've been working on the 2008, the self-titled one,
Yeah,
Madrugada
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
And you've been producing these records.
Well, some of them I produced, but some of them I like Industrial Silence I just mixed. But some of the later ones I produced, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it goes back and forth.
So what was it, for example, in the case of them? What did you do? Please tell
I
me.
mean, honestly, I just with them a lot of it was just organizing and making sure we got everything done and I mean, they had a certain style. I can't really say that I worked on the arrangements with them because they also were very that they did what they did. They didn't need me to help them do that kind of stuff. Um, but they needed someone to make sure that they were all doing the right thing and you know what I mean, and no fucking around and wasting time and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of
like,
a lot of production is like being like, the foreman of the
okay,
record,
yeah,
just
like giving
you know,
direction and then like
yeah.
leading the whole
Yeah.
thing that it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay,
I think
I
with
got that.
them, there was a lot of that because they already had like all four of them had opinions about everyththing. So you
And then
didn't
do you
need a
have,
fifth.
sorry. I was just gonna ask, like, do you have like maybe, okay, but you just said you don't in the case like this one, you don't go and say, okay, but maybe that's not the case. You don't in you don't give them
Right.
hints.
Right. No, I get
No.
you. Yeah. 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 Like I
Okay.
might like with Sievert back in the day, not now currently, obviously, but I might point out to him that lyrically a phrasing isn't really working in English. It's not like
I
super
see. Okay.
correct.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like that's not how we say it here. I
Yeah.
might say, you may wanna, this is a little weird. And he would understand and he'd be, oh, let me change it and stuff like that. So that might
Okay.
happen.
Sure.
But no, not with the musically, those guys knew what they were fucking doing. They had their vibe. They didn't need me to help them through that. They really didn't. It's like so
Well,
different,
they did need you because, yeah, you did the production for them, producing
Yeah,
for them.
no, but they needed me to organize it and make sure everything got done and make sure
Okay.
everybody was playing and make sure we got the right takes. Like with Sievert, he would sing 6 or 7 takes, and then I would sit in the room and pick the best versions of each line. So I would put them together, and then he'd come in, I'd play it for him, and he'd
Like
say,
that.
is there a better line for that?" And I'd find it and stuff like that. But a
Hmm.
lot of it was just letting them play, but me making sure we got the best takes, and I would tell them, you guys can do that better. But that was just from, the quality of what they were doing. Um,
Sure.
I didn't tell them to like change, I didn't tell them how to play guitar or
Yeah.
modulate it. There's none of that songwriting shit with them. Like they had their stick down. They didn't need me to do that. That's just, it's fine.
Yeah, this is you said that it's more in the case of newer bands when you produce for them.
Yeah, yeah, younger. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll give you a perfect example of a band that, yeah, well, newer because back in 2005 they were working on their third record. But like for example, the whole Steady, they were, I saw them at South by Southwest during their first record. I really liked them. They were like a club band. They had a really cool vibe. I really liked Craig, the singer, and all that. And then I end up doing the third record, Boys and Girls in America. And, they're touring around in a van and doing well. People really like them. They get really good write-ups. But we're working on the record. And at one point I turned around to Craig and I was like, honestly, we got to think about the choruses. I feel like it's not a chorus unless you could sing a harmony to it. And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, I love like the verses where you talk, you like kind of, you rap, you talk, you this and that. But like when we hit the choruses, I feel like you got to have a melody, and then we could throw harmonies on top, and then it feels like, oh, here's the chorus."
Of
And
course.
they incorporated that in that record, and honestly, it came out, it did great, and now they're in a tour bus on their third record and they're doing great. And then I produced their fourth record for them.
Hmm.
And we had the similar thing, where I just said, let's do something different on this song. Everybody go out and play. Craig, you're going to sing live. You're going to get one take. We're going to keep it. And you just go for it right now. Let's get the vibe of the whole band live on
Of
one
course.
song. And we
Yeah.
did. And it was really cool. We tried things they would never try. And I
Wow.
would say to them, there's a lot of songs on this record that end the same way. Could we do a fade on this song or maybe end with an instrumental break or this or that or a vamp or sing O's? And then they would try it and it would work. So then I worked on the next record and that came out and did great and people really liked it, but it was different from the previous record. So we tried to make sure we didn't make the same record over and over again. So, stuff like that with them. I mean, it worked with certain people, you know what I mean? But like I said, you got to kind of know who you're working with. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go tell Jay Mascis stuff like that because he doesn't give a fuck. He
Sure.
knows he knows what he
Yeah.
wants. He's
Like
only
you
being
mean he
busy
has
and he
his
doesn't care.
course.
Yeah.
And in the
So,
in these cases, I get it. Y- You're not just help producing, or you're not just producing the album, but in this case, that's what they get an understand. They also get an understanding. What are they going to bring on stage? So this effect, the it
right.
affects what they're going to play on live as well. It's kind of the
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
No.
direction of the songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you take a lot from I, I I reckon you did, like working with acts like Cyndi Lauper, and how was working with her?
I
Because I
mean,
never asked.
so it was crazy, okay? Like, she was in a band called Blue Angel from a part of New York City called Staten Island. It's an island.
Hmm.
It's not cool or there's nothing cool about it. It's not like Manhattan or Brooklyn or all that. It's just across. But they were a band. Hold on, let me get a sip. And it was her. She got signed to do her first solo record. She was very young. She was fantastic, and the great thing about that record was that there was a really great team involved. The producer was Rick Chertoff, who also was worked at Columbia Records, and he was a great producer. He was a song guy. Really he knew his shit, and he was just really great to work around. But he wasn't technical. He worked as an A&R man in a record company, but was a great student of writing stuff and performance and stuff. Bill Whitman, who ends up being one of my mentors, was the engineer, great engineer, and then great musicians surrounding her.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, it was interesting because, we were working with an unknown artist and we had no idea that the record would do what it did. And once it did, it was like, great, good for her. It was like we were really excited. But the process of picking the songs and, half of them were cover songs, half of them she wrote. I mean, she wrote time after time in this studio. Well, she wrote, yeah. Yeah. She wrote time after time in the studio with Rob from the Hooters while we were on a dinner break. And literally, so everybody, a bunch of people go to the really nice Italian restaurant 2 blocks over and have dinner. Cyndi has an issue with this idea. Rob stays to help her. I stay because I have to break down stuff and set up for what we're doing next. I even forget what, but I was coiling cables, putting away microphones, all this, and I'm hearing them at the piano. And ultimately, what they're creating is fucking time after time, which becomes a huge hit. It was insane to see that happen.
A
And I'll
huge.
tell you
Yeah.
just one of the other stories. So, Girls Just Want to Have Fun was actually originally written by a guy from Philly named Robert Hazard. And it was a little bit of a different concept. It wasn't from the girls' perspective, it was from a guy's perspective, but they changed the lyrics a little so it was Cyndi, it became Cindy's song.
Okay.
But
That's fun fact. I have never didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very
Very
interesting stuff.
interesting. Yes.
But the point is, so they originally cut it as a more of a reggae song,
Hmm.
and they get the rhythm section from Bob Marley and the Wailers, which is Sly and Robbie. They fly them in for a day to jam on it in a reggae style, and we worked on it for like 5 hours, and it wasn't happening. So they left, and then everybody regrouped and changed it to how it ended up being a huge hit, which is with the crazy bing 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 bing, and it's still got a little bit of a reggae thing, but it's more of a pop thing. But it was just watching these guys create this record, and then literally hearing her sing them, and like her great vocals and the way she sounded was just, it was phenomenal. It was like one of my first, I think it was the second or third record I assisted on. And I just was like stunned the whole time, like just watching what was going on. I could not believe I was witnessing this. It was nuts. So, but great. Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen then like it sounds like a whole series of inspiration from sketch and like it builds up.
Yeah.
E- Everyone's joining in there with their bits and then this
Yeah.
is what comes out.
That was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like written to her. So
right.
yeah,
Right.
that's very amazing. How was
Yeah.
it to see that? To witness that?
No, it was crazy. Even like that one song on the record, She Bop, she had that song. And then I think the producer, Rick, was the one who suggested she do, you bop, we bop, I bop in the choruses. And that kind of changed a little bit of her vibe of her chorus, which really helped to make it more fun.
Hmm.
And like I said, the constant creating and morphing and like all, it was just interesting. Like all the opinions were really good. You know what I mean? It was like just, and once again,
Yeah, you can
nobody
hear
knew
that
it.
on these records. Like yeah, there are so many ideas coming
Yeah, so
together.
many ideas, and they're all like spot on,
Yeah,
perfect. You
it's like a
nailed it.
big brainstorming of like, okay, now
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
this, and that, and just everyone
and
says the right
everything
thing at
worked.
the right
Everything
time.
worked.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, it was
And I
phenomenal.
guess that must have influenced you, for for everything after. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the way of
And
your
she was
taking
great.
production ideas, maybe. Sorry,
Right.
I'm
No,
just
no, it's fine.
thinking.
I was gonna say that I was just say that she was really great as a young kid. I mean, young kid. She was probably my age, maybe a little younger, but I don't think so. But she was very young, and she, dealt with, a lot of what was going on really in a positive way. She was great, and she was so open. Um, and even honestly, back then, it was very funny, but we would do all kinds of like pranks on each other, not her, but like the guys would prank on each other and do stuff. And she had to endure a lot of that. And she was very patient and didn't give us a hard time about like, us being knuckleheads and doing stupid shit to each other and whatever. I won't go into details, but she was never the butt of any jokes. But the point was like, we were kind of all like, even so in the early 80s, there was a lot going on, but there was a lot of fucking around with people, each other.
Hmm. That's very
Like
interesting.
at one point, what?
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. At one point, they tie wrapped me to a rolling chair in the control room. So I was stuck on the chair, and they pushed me out to the front of the building during lunch hour, and they just sat me there for like a half an hour. And like people were walking by, like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? But I was like literally there, and people were coming into the building who worked at the studio, and I'd be like, Greg, can you help me out? These guys did this to me. And he'd be like, no, I'll be back later. And it was like just a joke. So finally they came out, they wheeled me back in, cut the things, and they said, all right, go back to work. But they did like stupid shit like that. It was just very funny. It wasn't like, it was like pranking. They were very pranky. And then,
Sure.
a lot of times someone would open up the door of the control room and then would have the fire extinguisher, which was like carbon monoxide, not carbon dioxide, CO2. And they'd open the door of the control room and just spray the CO2 into the control room so you couldn't fucking see anything. And it was like, what do you? But that's what they did. Everybody, it was like really like immature, silly shit. But that's what people were. They were all silly. It was like very
Yeah, that's
funny.
pretty silly.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it was very
Pretty
ridiculous.
immature,
But
silly
anyway,
shit.
she was very patient with all that. She didn't get mad. She let everybody.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fun. It's hard to imagine something like that would happen now.
Oh no, I think everybody's so like in a different world. I'll tell you
Yeah.
the one other thing which people did, which you had to be very careful is, so when you're running a tape machine, you have to clean the heads of the tape machine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you have wooden Q-tips and like alcohol.
Yeah.
So what some people would do was they'd break the stick of the toothpick of the Q-tip in half, sharpen one of the ends, and then stick it in your chair. So when you sat down, you were like, "Oh,
Spike.
sit on the little sharp thing and for it." They called it like
You
the
sat into a
Bengalese
needle.
tiger trap or some stupid thing like that.
You
But
sat on a needle. That's pretty.
yes, so you go if you went to the bathroom and came back in the control room, you had to look at your chair and make sure there wasn't one of them sticking in there. It was like just dumb shit like that. It was like really dumb. But my point is, she totally was super patient with it and didn't you guys are idiots, stuff like that. She let us do our thing and she did her thing.
Yeah,
So
she didn't run away.
no,
Yeah,
no.
which is yeah, that's great. Um,
So
and now you are sitting in your studio, the rabbit hole.
yeah, so I got my little
Yeah,
rabbit hole. I'm recording us. I got little tapestries. I got a nice little painting of Mark Lanegan over
it
there.
looks very nice. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
oh, wow, that's
yeah. Someone made
wow.
that for me for my birthday. My
Yeah,
my
yeah, I can
son-in-law's
see.
brother made that.
Sorry.
I've got my little rabbit hole logo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got also got
And I see I saw the one in your right hand. That's JMS's,
and that's Lanegan.
and that's
Got my
him.
little
But what's on the bottom of Mark Lanigan's figure? Like there's
Oh, it
something
says
written on it because I've just seen on your on the Instagram site. There's something written there.
he's called the Night Porter.
The night porter.
I don't know why that. I don't know why. It
Okay. Yeah.
might be a reference to one of his lyrics.
The night
But I've got
porter.
I've got like my guitar pedal, my favorite guitar pedals.
Yeah.
I've got all kinds of crazy shit down here.
That's
So
really
yeah.
yeah. So now this is where you're mixing mainly, or is
Um,
it also
but
recording,
yeah,
or
I don't record down here because it's in our house.
it's in
But
your house? Yeah. I've seen
yeah.
that's with a big
But
control room and everything in your house.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a big control room. It's like more like a wood shop that
Okay.
we turned into a mixing thing. But it's I do about 75% of my mixing here.
Okay.
And yeah, because what happens is that ever since COVID, you know, people stopped doing a lot of people stop the sessions where you all meet at the studio and mix together.
Hmm.
So it became like remote mixing a lot. And
Yes, yes, you mentioned that. I
now
mean,
having the setup here, is actually easy. Yeah, because in fact, I'm mixing a song right now for an old friend of mine in this band called Flowerland, and he basically he sent me comments over the weekend. So when I'm done, I'll work on that song and then go upstairs. My daughter's back from college, so I'll spend some time with her today. But it's nice down here because I can come down for like 5, 6, 7 hours or whatever, do stuff, go up, walk the dogs, come back. And it sounds good. And I will be honest, I've always been um, very cognizant of what I do. So when I mix a record and then it goes to the next step, which is the mastering engineer, I always am in touch with them after they master and ask what they did and what they thought. And I gotta
okay.
say, I've been very fortunate here because basically I'm getting thumbs up from all three of the different mastering guys I use. They all say, no, it's good. We didn't have to add that much top. The frequencies were there. We made it louder, this and that. That's what they do a lot, make things louder. But I guess
Sure.
frequency wise, pretty good down here. I can really tell like an official like designed studio. It works. It works really good. So, yeah, it's great. I'm psyched.
Yeah, you were breaking up just a little bit. So you were saying it works officially designed studio, this one, yours,
Yeah,
but this isn't for
yeah. Even
mastering.
though it's yeah. No, but
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, when I talk to my friends who master this stuff, like Greg Calby or Brad Sarno
yeah,
or
wow,
Steve, they
the best.
all they would tell me if there was some weird thing going on here where the frequencies are weird, and they're saying no, it sounds really close. So yeah,
Hmm. Oh, I
yeah,
see, of course. Yeah, that's just the point I was missing. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. I got it. Okay, so yeah,
yeah,
that's very well treated and built then,
yeah. Yeah, so
obviously. Yeah, you need that in your own space.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I mixed the last Buffalo Tom record here, the last Jay Mascis record here, Horse Girl. So I've done like yeah, I'd say like 75% of what I do down here. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say
yeah,
to what I heard from your newest stuff. Um, I think you pretty much have the same style, and also it just got very modern, which is
right,
there isn't
right,
any importance of anything is normal. It is normal, I think. I mean,
yeah,
modern in a sense of
yeah,
yeah, just maybe a little bit brighter, but
yeah. Maybe that's the digital. Yeah, the
oh,
thing is, I'm still using a
that's
lot of
maybe because
analog.
of because of all the digital. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the A to D converters at top end, but I'm using a lot of analog gear, a lot of tape echoes and spring reverbs and all kinds of weird stuff. All my old analog gear, I use a lot of that for effects, and uh, I basically, I add a little bit of the analog vibe to the digital, and I think that helps warm it up, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
yeah. Whew.
that's
Anyway, I would say should be going if you
yeah.
don't
Maybe I feel
mind.
like I'm holding you up. Yeah.
No, no, not only that, but it's almost 1 o'clock, and I got to go up, and I got, like I said, the kids home from high school, and I think we did pretty good. I mean, you got like an hour and 40 minutes. You can,
Yeah. No, it's I don't think I have uh I mean I could ask a lot more, but of course I'm
yeah.
respecting
Well, I mean,
respecting your
you,
time.
you know what, if you want,
We could do
and
it
I
again.
wouldn't be opposed. Well, yeah, we could do it again, but I don't know what your schedule and how you would do this is gonna do. But I mean, if you wanted to release this as a part one, and
Definitely.
then somewhere down
Definitely
the
I
road,
want to. Yes,
yeah.
that's
So
my
what I'm
plan.
saying, we'll do a part two. We'll
I
see,
would so much appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, John. Thanks.
yeah, no, it's fun. I like to hang. And by the way, I'm much more prefer this than the texting because
No,
that was
no,
just
me
not
too. I to be honest, I
like.
didn't know I could do this because I don't know
Okay,
why.
good. Well, you can do
But
it now. You know.
yeah, now I know. Now I know. It's
And
yeah,
this is more like 2024 anyway, you know what I mean? But it's
that's
also
right.
more
That's right.
personal,
I was just yeah.
more
But you
personal.
encouraged me a lot, and yeah, it's yeah, really pleasant. Really
Oh, good.
pleasant was
Great. Well, it was
and
fun. I'm glad we got to meet
listening.
and stuff. All right.
Yeah,
So, keep in touch. Um,
yeah,
I'm trying to think. I mean, just do
definitely.
what you got to do. Let me know when you release it so I can share it,
Of
and then
course,
we'll
I
figure
will.
out part two.
Yeah, yeah. Would you recommend anyone for the next part
Yes. Yeah, I can. I can.
for
Let me let
episode
me
two?
let me think about it. Let me
If it's
think
too
about it
spon
because
or if it's too
yeah.
spontaneous, also, and you don't have to just.
Well, no,
So
no, it's
something
not
I
that.
thought
Yeah.
of,
So
yeah,
it's more.
spontaneously first when I was
No,
thinking.
but it's not like spontaneous. It's not that. It's just I want to think of someone who A will be available because some of the people I know just don't have the fucking time to do this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Of
They're
course,
too busy. But
no,
the
of
other
course,
thing is I want to get someone who is like I want to get someone who will be engaging with you and who you'll have a good time. You know what I mean? You'll have a good
of course,
conversation.
and there's no expectations. Like, and if you wouldn't say there's anyone, I also
Yeah.
I've got your part two next once in the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, no, no, but
this was
let me
something I
think
was
about it.
thinking of first when I was thinking of
Yeah.
this thing to do to launch it. And
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who does a lot of really cool shit. And now he's also designing plugins, but he also still mixes. And he was an assistant for me a long, long time ago. His
okay,
name is Dan Corneff. So let me reach out to him and see if he's interested.
okay, I would look forward to
So
that. Yeah,
okay. He does a
yeah.
lot of stuff like Breaking Benjamin and stuff like that. He's really talented guy, but he's
Wow,
killing it. He's really, really good. So all right. All right, great.
I would look forward to that. Okay, yeah. Thanks
Have a
so
good
much.
one. Okay,
You
I'll talk
too.
to you later.
You'll
Thank
talk
you.
to you later. Thank you, John. Thank you. Bye.